Okay, I'm just going to talk about the quiz real quick. Some of you were kind of stuck with, how do you do this? I will say that you could have at least tried to do part of it, right? That's number one. Like if you have to do the volume, so if you had done the top and then the middle, if you're stuck on this one, I guess you needed the radius. I will say this, on an exam or on a test, I would then make up my radius. I'd be like, based on this, because there's still a B and a C part, right? So yes, you might get this wrong. You might get the first part wrong, but then we base it on your A answer, right? We base everything else based on that. So I know that this one wasn't, right? Like it was, you were kind of just, I don't know how to go from here, but this 9 right here is the, I don't know, I'm going to try a red pen, but it is basically the radius of that hemisphere. You can't really see it. It's very hard to see because it's so dark. So that also means that it's the same distance from the center to the side, right? So this 9 was like the key that unlocked everything. It was the radius of that hemisphere, which ended up being the radius for all the other shapes. So I will just show you the key. So you had to do a little bit of, is this the exact same one that you have? Was this how it was? These numbers? Is this 10 for you guys? Yeah. So yeah, so you gotta kind of had to do a little bit of math to figure out this part right here, the cylinder height. Just take the 10 and the 9 away from 40 and you got that, which is where the 21 comes from, right? That 21 should have been there. And then it's basically cone, cylinder, hemisphere, just the volumes of those, and just had to be careful how you type that in. But your total should have been 771,889, okay? Volume is easier. You don't have to worry about faces that overlap, right? And then the B was like based on A. So it's saying that if a cubic foot weighs this much in pounds, determine if it's safe for this, if it's safe to fill this tank, because it can only hold 400,000 pounds. So you convert, right? You cancel the cubic feet. It turns out that it's this many pounds if you were to fill this thing completely. Not safe based on my calculations because this surpasses the 400,000 limit, okay? If your answer was under 400,000, of course, we would expect you to say it is safe, right? You want to be consistent. Then there was a surface area question because you're painting this thing. So I do lateral surface area of the cone, lateral surface area of the cylinder, and the surface area of a hemisphere, which is just 2 pi r squared, okay? And you had to find the slant. Slant is root of 181. Some of you probably turned that into a decimal, and that's just fine. Just use all decimals. If you add everything up, you had to give it 2 coats, right? So you had to multiply by 2 at the end to get 4153.70. Okay. So that was the surface area. Let's do the back part. How much paint? If a can covers 250 square feet. Okay, so I take my previous answer. I basically divide, right? I divide that surface area by how much 1 can will cover. That's this many cans, can by partial, so it's 17. 17 times cost times 1.12. And so it's 3598.56. I did notice that one of my keys is doing 13% taxes, right? The baseball diamond. I apologize, I didn't update that key. I'm going to show you the updated key. Taxes used to be 13%. You were very, very young to remember that. Okay, but there was a time where it was 13%, so my key is slightly off. But up until the subtotal, you should have the same as me, right? So please don't think that taxes are 13%, okay? It's my bad. They're 12% right now. That's all we go by. Then you had the room. And this was before I showed my classes the perimeter. Oh, I do have it right here. If you added up the perimeter and multiply it by the height, then you would actually get the surface area of the walls only. You still needed to figure out the ceiling, okay? So basically what I did is I broke this down into chunks. So I did walls for number 1. So I just went length times width. That's my ceiling and the walls, plus length and width times height. For this, I think I made a mistake, because length times width is the ceiling here, and then 2 times width times height is these side walls. I still need to do a length and a height. Do you see that? I don't know. There should have been a length and height as well here. I'm gonna have to redo this. So just for now, just remember that there should be a length times height portion here. It may be that the key you saw was already updated, but I do need to have at least one of these walls here. Oh, hold on. I think I took care of it. Now that I'm thinking, I think I took care of it when I did the big room. I assumed that this wall that's missing, right, is this one over here. So that's okay. My work will still jive. Some of you may have done it slightly differently, but I did all 4 walls for the big room. Even though there's this chunk missing, I know it's over here. It's just been shifted over. So when I do the small room, I'm just doing the ceiling and these 2 walls. That's where this was coming from. We're good. Phew, right? So I figure out the surface area. It's a little messy. I get this for the surface area. Minus, there are three windows that measure 6 by 4, and there's one door that measures 6 by 8. I took that away. I get that. I need to apply 2 coats. I get that. This is how much is to be painted. Okay, this one right here. And then I figure out how many cans. So I take the 1981 by 170 divided by 175. I need approximately 12 cans. And then it's 12 cans times the price times 1.12, and so I get 389.63. Is anybody getting something else and you're very sure that you got it right? No? You're not going to argue with me? Okay. I wish I'd be that easy at home with my wife. She would just, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm mostly wrong. Anyways, next I had to do the cost for laminate. So then it's just the area of the floor of the first room and plus the area of the second room. So it's just length and width. Add it up. You want to figure out how many boxes you need. You divide it by 24 essentially. You need 16 boxes. And so it's 770.56 there. Okay? I'm just going to warn you, sometimes the province says that boxes come in they have 5 tiles in the box, and each tile measures 1 foot by 1 foot. Oh, that's 1 square foot, right? You go times 5, because there's 5 tiles in that box, so a box covers 5 times 1, 5 square feet. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of extra work if they don't flat out give you the square footage that one box covers, okay? So if they give you pieces in the box, use that to figure out how much it covers in total, right? Just use that information to do that. Any questions about this? You will ask me perhaps once I'm done here. You might ask me a specific question. You go for it, okay? Okay, so this is that was the quiz. I gave that in the fall of 2019. It's been a while. It's been a while. Let's talk about this one. And I don't know if it stomped some of you, but I think the key was in realizing that you needed a quarter, right? This was a quarter of a full circle or a quarter of a cylinder, right? It's a quarter nonetheless. So that was probably a good starting point, okay? And so for the gravel, when I think of gravel, it's that infield here. It has a certain depth to it of 4 inches, right? Gravel is 4 inches deep. So now I'm thinking cylinder. So I'm going to go quarter pi r h. And remember, h is in inches. I need to have that in feet because it's telling me that gravel is sold in cubic feet, right? And bags of cubic foot. So this is already the radius, okay? So the radius is 145 for that infield. So I use that, 4/12, and then you go a quarter times whatever you got for the volume, and that gives you this number right here. That's how much the infield you need to fill out the entire infield. You can't buy partial quantities, so I basically round this to the next whole cubic foot. Times 150. Right? And we add taxes. You get this, I call this A, right? Part A, figuring out how much the cost of gravel is. So you got that taken care of. Now you need to figure out the cost for seed. And let me see if I can have a highlighter here. Right? Seed is only this outside part, right? There's going to be grass right there. So for seed, you need to just focus on that quarter donut, but we don't have a formula for donut, right? So we need to create it. So I'm still thinking a quarter. I go area of the large circle minus area of the small. So I'm going to go large minus small to be left with the donut. And so we just plug in. The radius of the large one is 320. The radius of the small one is 145. You square that. You quarter it, and you are in square feet, right? It's just surface being covered. Then I figure out how many bags I need, as one bag covers 6,500 square feet. I need 10 bags. Then you just go ahead and multiply. That's very cheap but this is already an older question. And we add A and B up to get our grand total, which is 9427.60. And again, the tendency is to get stuck on, maybe you check my key and you got the final answer wrong and you're like, oh my goodness, there you go, I can't do this. Don't think that, okay? Just fill up that thing with work. And I like to fish, right? So fishing for marks is something I really like to do. So the more work you give me, the higher the likelihood that you score higher, okay? It's the critical thinking that we're after more so than, I mean, of course we like the correct final answer, of course, right? Like, don't get me wrong, but don't let that be the reason you freeze and you don't go ahead and try to solve the whole thing, okay? All right. We're good there. So there was a mix between volume and surface area. I liked our area, I would say, that I liked that part. It really made you think. This was actually an old exam question, okay? A couple of years, like probably 10 years ago. But they kind of still get you to think. All right. So if you came in late, at some point I need to see those quizzes, okay? All right.